It's part three. Gonna go right into the lesson. Sorry I got cut off, brothers and sisters. I got to work on trying to get my storage updated. But for the ado, let me go right into the scriptures here. But before I get that, I must give all honor and praises and glory to the Heavenly Father Yahweh, also the true Holy Messiah, the King of Kings, royalty himself, Yahweh Shah Mashiach, where our salvation lies, where our hope lies. He is the author and finisher of our faith, and that's why we must give honor and praises. We also must fear the Most High, because He's the creator of heaven and earth, seen and unseen, in this dimension as well as the spiritual dimension. And we also must respect to the Found Father, True Father, One West. And of course, this lesson to the 12 tribes. They are scattered abroad, the lost sheep of the house of Israel, which our King told us to go to, which is you so-called African American blacks, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native American Indians, and so-called West Indies, from the west coast of Africa all the way to the west coast of Europe and South and Central America. Israel is scattered, and they're going to come out looking like those nations where they were scattered. So it's definitely not a color thing or a complexion thing. It's based off the heritage of your father. So let me go right back into the lesson, what I was touching on. The book is called, we in the book of Matthew, chapter 22, verse 37. It says, you must love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and in all your mind. This is the first and greatest commandment. And second, equally important, love your neighbor as yourself. The entire law, all the demands of the prophets are based on these two commandments. So, hey, look, that's the importance of brotherhood. Supposed to love the Most High with all your mind, heart, and soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. You know. So I mean, when you get to the point where you don't communicate with the brothers no more, that's how you know, or like that's how somebody completely fell off, because they don't even give all, like, even if you're not in a camp, right? Let's just say you got a small camp, or you might be a very small camp, which is some camps that's very small, like Fallen Kings. We not the biggest camp in the world, you know, but you can't abandon the brotherhood. You can't abandon to the point where you don't want to communicate. You don't want to give, like I said before, you don't want to help the brother. You want to give alms to the brothers, to the point where you just completely isolated, to the point where you cut off all communication. And at that point, that person is reprobated, and that person is at that point, it ain't looking too good for that person. And we hope and pray that that person come out of that spirit, because that's the worst spirit to be in. You know, how can you purge your sin away if you don't atone for them? How can you atone for them when you don't have the brotherly love or the companion for your people? You know, I just want to touch on that real quick, because I mean, you know, that's when, and I notice how a lot of the elders get on people who fall off. I understand why now. I really understand why the elder get on people who fall off this truth, man, because it's like you're going to get the worst of judgment, because you was once enlightened by this thing, and then you walk off and be like, okay, I'm gonna just cut off communications. I don't want to help the brotherhood no more. I don't want to communicate. I don't want to do no good works towards the body. And like I say, man, you know, that's the worst spot a person could be in, man. You know, it's just sad when a person get to that point. That's why, you know, I try my best. We try our best to push forth these videos to show that we got love for our people, and just doing good works towards the body in general. And you don't want to get to the point where you completely, you want to get to the point where you're completely isolated, to the point where you're not even fruitful. You know, when you unfruitful, meaning you're not doing nothing towards the body. I don't care if you a one-man camp or a two-man camp. You know, you still supposed to communicate or do some type of good work towards the body. You know, and I just want to touch on that real quick. The next lesson I say, Shalom, peace and blessings to the hopeful elect, you so-called African American blacks, so-called Hispanics, so-called Native American Indians, and our brothers and sisters from the west coast of Africa, all the way to the west coast of Europe, because you got Judah scattered there, because Israel is going to be scattered coming out these nations. You're going to have Israelites that even look like those nations.